Hi, today we're going to be talking about accusations, and this is part of a series I'm doing, and you'll find the playlist of this called Communication Principles for Overcoming Complex PTSD. And this is accusations are a really big deal. They are happening so often and so frequently for many reasons and many brain reasons. And we're going to talk about that. I want you to understand accusations, why they're used, why brains are doing this. Um, and these accusations are one of the reasons why we have such why we have conversations that go round and round and end up being very hurtful, and we never feel like we're getting anywhere. And so this is not something I want you just to get at the head level because it won't create enough depth of change for you. I want you to make this from your subconscious programming, from your body, your nervous system, your rewiring. I want this to become a shift that levels you up in life, and that all parts of you are on board with, and it runs automatically for you. So we got to do a little bit more than just understand this shift. We actually have to get the brain to rewire this for us. And so I'm going to talk about this. You're going to get a bunch of brain knowledge about it, but I want you to know that's not enough. Okay. It will be a beginning. It will help you. And I hope this inspires you to come in and do the work because it doesn't take much extra work. Okay. That's all I want to say for that at this time. Let's go. So, my name's Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and making their life healthier and healthier, making their goals realize. This process is how we have success, how we have deep connection. This brain work is really what I wish our brains were doing in early childhood, but because things were not safe and our brain was worried about surviving, we weren't doing as much of this processing as everybody else. And so this process does get stopped and blocked. And when it's not running, we don't get the resolution of our symptoms. We don't get to go through the brain's maturation process, growth, mastery, learning new skills, higher functions, all these beautiful things we don't get to do. And so that is why I really focus right here, because when the brain can do it, it does it, and it's fast. And even though it might not have done it in early childhood, we can really get this process up and running, and we'll see all these things happen. And with this accusations, I want to make sure that we don't just talk about it, but that this process is also running. That way, instead of accusations can really shift us into survival modes really fast, and that shuts down this healing growth process, learning process, adaptation. I'm throwing all the words in there. But what we want to do is we want to get this accusation through your brain's healing process where executive functioning will be taking place, uh, processing, rewiring will begin. We want it to go that direction. So we got to get this process open. This is the whole thing. If your brain had the support to do this, it would have already been done. We're going to do it now, and we're going to do a lot of it. And this brain process opens when the survival system, which is the gatekeeper, which it's if there's pain moving through our system, it's going to close. If there's safety, it's going to open. And so we want to send it safety signals in its native language. And so it receives safety messages through the body. Same thing we're doing with infants. We're rocking them. We're sending it through their safety signalings through the ears, through their body, so that this part of the brain will see it and will allow healing, rest, digest, all the beautiful growth functions to happen. We're going to do that for ourselves as well, even when we're dealing with accusations. And when we're thinking about accusations, when we're reworking our programming and our protocols for accusations, we want to make sure this is up and running, that this mind body system process for growth is running. And so we're going to really use interventions while we do this to influence your survival system to open. If you have one of those interventions that you already know work for you, use it while we're having this conversation. It'll be wonderful. I encourage you to do so while taking full responsibility for yourself and your health and wellness. But this is going to bring up stuff for you. Um, Accusations are a type of violent, aggressive communication. And remember, your mind body system doesn't know the difference between being rejected, verbally abused, feeling hurt, sad, um, embarrassed, humiliated, betrayed. It doesn't know the difference between all those things and being stabbed in the gut. Pain is pain. So emotional pain is going to cause us, it's going to, our survival system is going to react to it. And so because we're working with something painful that we know the survival system is going to react to, we also want to be providing and sending those safety signals so that you're, instead of going into fight or flight while we're talking about this, while we're working on this, we go into healing, digesting the information around accusations, and it's starting that rewiring process. So that's the part of this that's going to make the biggest difference. But let's talk about accusations. So accusations are part of violent or aggressive communication. It is not fantastic. Um, they're, uh, and there is a time and place for an accusation that is not a mental health problem. And so I'm not talking about that. If you have one of those things going on, you're probably talking to lawyers and authorities and things like that. These are accusations that we're using in communication, that we learn to use in communication, that we've been using for generations in communication. And often now we're so practiced at this that it happens automatically. It's not even a thought given. We're just shifting right into accusations. And I am going to call a flag on the play when this is happening. This is a red flag for your brain function, um, because this is a low quality brain product. An accusation is not a high quality product. And therefore, if you build with that material your life, it will not be a high quality building, and it will crumble, it will fall, it will cause you all kinds of problems. We need your brain to make you high quality material. And accusations are low quality. We want to send those through your healing processor. We want to hand that to your executive functioning. That's what I'm talking about. This processing process is anything that can move through there gets into the hands of your executive functioning. It gets into the hands of the rewiring learning growth team. We need them working on this because this is not a high enough quality product for us to actually put into our relationships, to put into our businesses, to put into our goals, our dreams, our workplace. This is not, we don't want this here. If your brain gives you an accusation, I want you to say, oh, thank you very much, brain, and let's process that some more. Let's work on that a little longer. This is not fully baked. This is raw. This will make us and our friends and our family sick. Okay. So I want you to expect more from your brain and other people's brains. Um, One of the things that's when we are making low quality products like this, usually it's because this mind body system's blocked. If it would to open, the accusation, all that material, the experience, how we feel about the experience, our judgments about the experience, our desires, all that information would go up, and it would go through different parts of your brain, the word center, the my brain doesn't want to tell me all the parts right here. Okay. But the moral center, the logic center, the reasoning center, your skills center, it goes through all these parts and it becomes better and better. It's like a factory, right? So it's like the experience goes through here and they give words to it. And so now there are words to it. It goes over here and now there are morals to it. This is the first time morals will be given here. They go over here and your skills, your values, your morals get put onto it. All these things are really important. Um, and it makes it a higher quality product. Seeing things from multiple perspectives is up in here. We want your accusations to start expanding outside of just the accusation and understand multiple perspectives here, multiple truths. Accusations are a lot of times where maybe there's 5 functions. I'm being very abstract here. Let's say I'm going to throw out an accusation. We're just going to go real here. The accusation is, I always have to do this myself, right? Okay. My brain just deleted and ignored and discounted all the other times where you helped me. Any other perspectives here? My morals, my values, and um, any other historical contribution here. And all that it's holding on is right now, I feel like I'm alone and I have to do it myself. And that's the only thing that matters, and the brain has erased everything else. Have you ever felt like, I'm so sad, I'm only going to be sad? Right? That's a brain thing where brains zoom in, and it's a processing thing. It's how brains process life and how they look at things. They'll zoom in because they're like, tell me all about this. Okay, this sad feelings here. I'm going to be all in this. Right? That's they're going in to heal and process and explore it and understand it. When they finish, they'll come back out, and then you'll have access to the whole thing again. that that bit of separating is a brain function thing. It also means we're not finished understanding it. That's what that means. And so we don't want to believe something that only has one part to it. I feel like this, so I'm going to say this. I feel alone, so I'm going to say I'm alone. I feel like I'm being judged, so I'm going to turn this and judge you. Right? It's just we're doing one thing. Does that make sense? I wish I had a better example. Um, so I'm gonna keep working this concept. We'll build on it, and I'll wait for my brain to catch up. I'm gonna see if I did this right before, because I could feel it. I could feel that my word center was not wanting to join me the way I want it to. Okay, so but what we also notice there is that there's only one piece here. So we also noticed that it didn't really reality check. It didn't say, well, I feel like I always have to do this myself. Is that true? Is this also your perspective? Um, have I ever said this before? Is this valuable? Is this meaningful? Um, do we have any agreements of us not saying these things? Right? Like there's other things here, but why are you only holding one, brain? Brains hold multiple perspectives. You know what? You know what part of our brain doesn't hold multiple perspectives? Our survival system. Its perspective is survival, right? That's its only thing that it's doing. So this is a clue that we're really operating from a survival state. And we don't want you to do your life from your survival states. It's too important. This part of the brain doesn't know how to thrive. It doesn't know how to help you grow and help create win-win-wins for your goals, your relationships, your finances, your desires. It only knows how to do one thing and survive. That is not running on the same track as thriving. And so when you're coming into your conversations and your relationships, we want you running from your whole brain. We want it thriving mode. We don't want survival mode. So these are clues, and these interventions that we're using here help our brain shift out of survival mode into thriving mode. We can make that shift. We can watch that shift. We can support that shift. We can influence our brain to shift over there, and we can do it in seconds. It's really powerful. That's what we're doing over here. And we're working with different interventions. I share my 3 favorite ones that usually create the most results for the most amount of people in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. I share those with you. And so those are things that people try. And when one of them works to shift, they've got one. They try them all. I have people try each one of them and see, do you go from a survival state to a regulated state, to a processing, thriving state? And there are things you're looking for. So before we get in here, we've already tested, we've already found a winner, and we're using that intervention. So we're shifting our brain out of it. As soon as we find clues like accusations flying out of our mouth or other people's mouths, that's a clue. We're in a survival state. We're going to use our intervention here. We're going to say, whoop, give me a moment to get my whole brain on board. Give me a moment to get my processor running so I can see this from a bigger perspective. So I can use my thriving mode. So I can figure out how to look at this while thriving at the same time, right? But this discounting the positive, discounting all these other experiences is part of cognitive distortions. I have a whole video on that. That cognitive distortions is an early processing thing. It's a low quality material. It is not the good stuff. So if your brain is doing this, we know we just need more processing going on. We're not going to argue with our brain here. It's still working in process. They're good at this. Our mind-body system sometimes takes longer to catch up in the process than our thinking center. And what we're doing here is we're walking in our brain through its process of figuring these things out. It has a beautiful process for this. It's very good. We want it to figure it out. We don't want to just tell it, well, I already know the answer. Let me tell it to you. No, we want it to go through its process because that other process doesn't work. You can tell your brain, hey, we don't need to use accusations. We don't need to use accusations. It's low quality brain. So Rachel says it's low quality. Don't do it. Your brain's still going to do it because it hasn't gone through its process of not doing it yet. And we want it to go through its process for not doing it yet. That's why we're providing it some support. And this shift takes seconds to minutes. So it's not a long time investment to walk your brain through its process. And what happens is every time it goes through that process, it's getting better and better at it. So pretty soon it's going to get really good at taking low quality brain material and finishing it to create a higher, awesome brain product. And so you're also rehabilitating this process here so that you walk out of this with faster and faster high quality product making. Okay, that means in real time you're not using accusations anymore. You're getting out of the habit of accusations because you're actually building healthy communication strategies because your brain is making those for you. That's the good stuff. That's where I want you to be. I want your brain making this stuff for you. That's what's happening. That's why people look like they're having success seamlessly. That's why you go to families and they're not doing accusations. They have an unconscious way of communicating healthier. Sorry, you were given accusations. You were patterned and wired for accusations. I get it. And we need to walk your brain through its process to resolve that. Okay. So the other things about this accusations and why the survival system really likes them is because you can really weaponize them. They become a spear and you just jab them at your partner. And then the next thing you know, their shoulder's bleeding. And now they're focused on their shoulder bleeding instead of the problem they wanted to talk to you about, that you were feeling insecure about. You have a lot of shame around. You don't want anybody talking about it. You don't feel safe talking about it, or you have no programming for healthy conflict resolution or being seen making an error. It's too painful. It's too scary. It doesn't feel safe or the right thing to do. And so instead of taking some time to explore, do I have a skill for this? Instead, maybe they say, hey, I'd like you to clean the bathroom when you leave it this time. And instead of saying, oh, okay, let me think about that, process it. Instead of that, you just do a knee-jerk reaction. I always do everything around here. You never do anything, right? And now we're back. We just launched accusations, 2 accusations, rapid speed in seconds without even thinking about it. You know that's survival state. That's survival mode. Those accusations, survivals like that, because now instead of having a conversation about cleaning the bathroom this time, and maybe it was even your turn, you're on the calendar, bro. It doesn't matter. Instead of having a conversation about this, we got out of that. We pushed our partner away from it. There's no more discussion about the bathroom and about it's our turn or anything, right? And the survival system likes that because it's like holding a hot pot on the stove. You grab the pot and it burns you. Your brain registers the pain. Let's go. Okay, good. We got rid of that. We survived. We made it. That detachment, that quick detachment. Maybe we're holding a problem. Our partner comes and talks about a problem with us, and all of a sudden we got to get away from it. We got to detach from it. Accusations are really good for this. They're fantastic. And so that type of thing really, you gotta see survival systems love that. And this is why we don't want to be operating from survival mode. It's not a great strategy. Harming your partner verbally, emotionally is not a good strategy for long-term health and wellness. And that's how my train is running again. Every day, same time. I should know this. This is the time I go live. Anyway, and then on top of that, your children are watching this pattern. They're picking up from the mirroring neurons, right? We don't do osmosis, humans, that I know of. Anyway, we don't do that. We do mirror neurons. So we're picking up through the mirroring neurons, which is like osmosis. And so now our kids we're sharing that generational pattern. We're driving it deep into our systems. You see, we don't want our survival system in charge of this. And so the simple solution here is we want to shift out of survival mode into a processing, regulating state. We don't want to stop accusations. We want to finish them through our brain's processing process, healing process, growth process, the process for making something a healthier product. We want to go through that. And so that's why I don't want you to stop and reject your accusations. No, come on up. Let me take you a tour through the parts of the brain that you need to go through that you haven't ever been through yet. Accusations. That we want your brain teaming up with accusations to make something better. Okay? But the other thing that's going on here is that the other cognitive distortions going on is emotional reasoning, negating the positive. I talked about that. We're also just distorting. There's 15 cognitive distortions. Most of them are happening here. Any cognitive distortions is a low product, and it's a sign the brain's not finished with the work. And so, but we're also distorting information, which is absolutely a mental health thing. And it's the brain saying, I can't make something better. I can only make something distorted. That's a real thing. Please understand that that's a massive feature in complex PTSD, in any PTSD, that the brain is not making something accurate. It's making the best it can make for you. And oftentimes this is distorted. Or especially in areas where we're really triggered, we're going to find a lot of distortions in there. Accusations we are distorting information. And our partners are like, whoa, where did that come from? Or even we accuse ourselves. And then we can get behind our own accusations, and our mind-body system is destroying our confidence, our sense of reality, our stability, our emotional security, safety, everything. It's unraveling it itself with this. So these accusations are part of the destruction team. And we need to, every time we have an accusation come up, we have an opportunity to not use destruction, but to push it back through our processor and get something that will be constructive. And so this is a really wonderful way to make our relationships better and better and better. If you take out 10% of your accusations, that's 10% less harm that happens, and you'll start to watch growth. And then your brain's going to be able to take out 10% more and 10% more till this is gone. And then it has mastered accusations. And then you don't have to babysit it, walk it through, support it through its process. But it's worth it. This is the stuff that should have been happening in your childhood. These are developmental processes that should have already been finished by now. They weren't. We're doing it now. Right? It's normal for young children to make accusations. You stole my stuff. Well, actually, we don't know if they stole your stuff. Right? We don't know anything. We need to go figure that out. It feels like they stole your stuff. I know last time they stole your stuff, right? That's absolutely a developmental process for early childhood. But many of us were trying to survive dysfunctional family systems or family systems that, just weren't working well for any number of reasons. And so we weren't getting that support. And so, but life is going on, and we still have some of these old tells that we haven't completed some developmental processes. And they're ruining our relationships. They're ruining our lives. They're ruining our friendships. They're ruining our goals. Let's just get the brain supported to do that. A week of this work, and bam, you got something awesome going. It's got to be specific and targeted work. Sometimes we can't fit that much specific and targeted work in there. So fine, let's take it a month. This month is all about accusations. Whatever. Make your plan, do it. Because it really is. This month, I'm helping my brain work through accusations, right? Accusations are also very positioning. We use these to position people. This is a manipulative strategy to position people where we want them for many reasons. One reason is just, I'm in pain, get away from me. And it's hard to have healthy conflict resolution when you're in pain and you want everyone to get away from you. So you pull up an accusation and it accomplishes it. Instead of saying, hey, I'm in pain and I need to take a 10-minute break, I'm going to withdraw from this and regulate myself. That would be a healthy way of accomplishing the same thing We don't need to stab our partners up, right? But um, the other thing is some of us, because we do not have, we learned in childhood, in our early years, that intimacy, being seen by our parents, our family members, our caregivers was dangerous. We are still operating like that, and our brain has not gone through its process of relearning this, seeing that there's other options here, and wiring for healthy intimacy. And so we can know that we're having an intimacy problem if we pull out an accusation. Accusations serve to reduce intimacy quickly. Also, what we're sometimes in early childhood, we're also learning that it's not safe to be seen, right? And so if you find your partner seeing you, and your nervous system's like, I don't know about this being seen, just reacting to that, it can throw out an accusation, and all of a sudden, our eyes are on our partner and nobody's seeing us anymore. So, this is a really great way to hide in plain sight, that you're with your partner, but your partner can never see you because you're throwing accusations out in between you to hide behind. And so, this is self-sabotaging on many levels. But one of the things that's saying is, I'm not ready for intimacy. I am not wired for intimacy. I'm wired to defend intimate moments. We need to resolve that wiring. We need to wire you for intimacy. This is a lot of the work that I'm doing. This is a lot of the work I'm walking people through in my online program. This is everything Rachel does. Is we need to make that intimacy program healthy and functional so that you can get as much intimacy as you want and be safe doing it, and that others feel safe because what if your partner sees you and you throw out an accusation and they no longer see you, you're training their nervous system that seeing me is not safe. And so they start to not see you. They're in relationship with you, but they're not seeing you, and that pattern can go. I find a lot of my successful um, uh, powerhouse women using this strategy to avoid being seen in their relationships. I see it in lots of people, but I especially see it there, that they have these intimacy wounds, but they're highly successful, and they have a very successful way of hiding, and it's in this. This is one of those strategies, and so food for thought. But even people that are not women or don't feel like they're successful, maybe nobody else would even say that about you, because mental illness can really put us there. This could be something that you're doing as well, and it's so I want to say, usually when you see a bunch of accusations, you think about destruction, and you think of that things are so dysfunctional. And I want you to know you can get really good at this skill, have it be so smooth that nobody knows. And everything's pretty much running well except for there's an accusation in here. And actually, I'm afraid of intimacy in my relationship, even though we've been married forever, and I don't have any intimacy, right? Or I can't, it's not very intimate. That's happening a lot. So even if you're high functioning, I don't want you to think you're going to escape this conversation. Um, you just need to look closely in there and find this. If you pull this out and resolve it, you will feel like $1,000,000. This is a huge healing opportunity. Some of us have some pretty chunky, clunky programming on this, and it's obviously terrible. And others of us have really smooth, good ones. And we need to be able to grab those up and throw them back through the processor. Get your brain to really work on these things. Let's see. Okay, they also position us to put people on the defense. And so when you go, if I'm bringing you an issue, this is what we're talking about, this issue thing. And what I'm focused on is going to get attention, and healing is going to start, because that's how brains work. If I can get my mind on this, change is going to happen in here. If I can get your mind on this, and both of our minds on this, change is going to happen here. Okay. Now, if I come and I bring you an issue and you make an accusation and it pokes me in the arm, and all of a sudden my whole body's like, I didn't do that. And now my focus is here, and my focus is no longer here. This no longer gets healing resolution. upgrading, transformation. And so, right, it's a really powerful power dynamic. And if you use an accusation, right, you can control what gets attention and what doesn't. And if you don't want this problem solved, you throw an accusation in here and party's over. You get to control that this thing doesn't get seen. Okay, even if this is for your detriment, and oftentimes it is. We want to have problem solve problems, have problem solve problems, have problem solve problems. That's what healthy adulthood is about. And but when it's not safe to have a problem, we're gonna we're gonna use these things. If it's not safe being seen having a problem, we're gonna do some wonky things because our survival system won't allow us to be harmed. So even though you might want to have an intimate conversation, your survival system might be like, absolutely not, and send you into survival state. And you're using your accusation. Okay. Or maybe you're turning it inward and you're accusing yourself. Same thing. We're going to not focus on the problem and we're going to focus on, I'm just not good enough. I can never do anything right. That is not what we're talking about. That is also an accusation and distorted brain function. Don't do it. I know you're going to do it. When you do it, use your intervention. Resolve it. Okay. So this is a really manipulative thing, and you can manipulate your own self. Um, so shifting focus, reducing intimacy. Okay, a couple of things I want to say about this. Um, there are strategies for this, and in my communications principles, I have 3 other videos, and I made a playlist for this. You can watch them. All of those things apply to this. They can really help you unravel accusations and go into depth. But the first thing is, let me see what order I want to say this in. Basically, what I'm saying is, what's your protocol for accusations? You need to build a protocol for accusations. When you find your own accusations, what's your protocol? When you find your partner, your friends, your boss making accusations, what's your protocol? Right now, it might be go into a survival state and then let the survival system figure it out. Fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. One of those guys will do it. The survival system chooses that for you. You don't get to choose which state you go into. Um, um, or maybe we can just start. My first thing I'm doing is regulating my nervous system. I'm using an intervention. I'm shifting out of survival mode into processing mode. Maybe that's your only protocol right now, because that's the best you can do, and that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And that's true. That's really, really powerful. How can you identify an accusation? Accusations can be really slick. You can be often running the trail. Like, if somebody makes an accusation over in left field, you could be over here chasing that accusation down before you even think about it. So maybe it's like, when I find myself chasing down an accusation way off the topic, I'm just going to use my intervention, and I'm just going to take a minute and just breathe, turn on my thriving system. I'm showing EMDR here. Not, I'm showing tapping, emotional freedom techniques, because you can see it. And it's easy to do. So I'm tapping while I'm noticing, wow, that really sent me. I got lost. I bought it. It's like a Jack Russell Terrier. You throw the ball and they have to run it. It's instinctual. They have to go get that ball. And accusations can be the same thing. You just have to go chase it down and argue with it and prove it's not right and explain yourself and just argue excessively, wasting your time and energy and missing the point, releasing your eye on the goal. So I want you to be able to keep your eye on the goal here. And so there's different brain states people are in. I talk about that in one of those videos. You want to say the name of the dysfunction, the brain state. You want to choose the right time to say something. You want to say the name of the dysfunction. That's an accusation. It looks like you're making an accusation right now. Is that what you want to say? Or, oh, I'm using an accusation, right? You want to say the accusation. You want to say the name. And you might not be able to say it out loud. Maybe you need to say the name in your head. The video I have about this that I go into depth is called Say Its Name. So you can really get in there and learn more about that. So you can provide people notifications. Hey, you're making accusations. This is a kind thing to do, especially in our meaningful relationships. We don't want to just no contact, you're done. You made some accusations, get out of here. Maybe they're worth investing in. This is something you're going to have to evaluate, and you need to be accurate here. This is a great reason to make sure your brain is creating accuracy for you. That process is the end result is accuracy. Survival state is not accurate. Survival state doesn't care about accuracy, it cares about surviving. Right? The accuracy is in the executive functioning, which is this way, through the out of survival mode into that rest, digest, and opening the doors to executive functioning. Um, but maybe you're gonna give them notification about this because maybe they really want to see it, or maybe they don't want to see it, but you're just letting people know this is an accusation. I'm gonna stop the conversation here, or we'll come back and revisit it. There's lots of things like that you can do in your relationships that can really build awareness of your of the accusation of the brain trash foul on the play. Um, there's a lot of brain training you can do here for yourself and for the people around you. We are training each other. And so maybe the conversation's over. Maybe you take 3 deep breaths. Maybe you use your intervention. I don't know what you're going to do. Your brain needs to review it and figure that out for you. But you really can't need to have an accusations protocol, especially if you come from a dysfunctional family system where accusations were a primary feature in communication. Okay. I'm going to read these 2 comments and then I'm going to start wrapping up. Kim says, when you mention this will help with anxiety, are you referencing OCD, health anxiety, and others to be included as well? Yes. All of the things have, if you boil all the anxieties down, they all have the same processing challenge where the fear is not getting through the healing pathways. It's getting blocked by the survival system and sent to it's being utilized for survival mode. And so with health anxiety, there absolutely are accusations in here, inaccuracies, distortions. We want those running through the healing pathways. So that's how our brain resolves things. That's how it figures out it's got a distortion running and it makes a correction. We can't, we need the brain to do that for us because there's lots of them. And if it can find 3 distortions, it's going to be like, whoa, okay, we need to overhaul this whole thing. What else do we have wrong? It needs to go through that process for you, and it's faster. The same thing with hand washing. I really need to wash my hands right now, or I need to get in the shower and take a whole shower. That's fear. That's not being converted. Fear is a messenger of stuff. Oftentimes, this fear is related from a past traumatic experience, but the brain can't resolve it there, and so the fear is running, so it runs it into the hand washing. And let me just be obsessed with hand being clean and contamination. So if we can get that through the healing process up to the executive functioning, they're going to start rewiring it. That they're going to start taking those compulsions apart. They're going to be like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, that's who needs to know this doesn't make any sense, is your brain. And so even though you consciously, and most people consciously know this is irrational, their brain hasn't been able to go through the process of figuring that out. So all these distortions, including accusations, need to go through that process so that the brain can resolve it. Okay, if your brain fixes it, it's fixed. If you fix it, it is not fixed. If your brain figures this out, it's figured out. If you figure it out, it is not figured out. You still have the problem, right? So we want to get your brain in here to do it. We want to lead with brain function. So all of those things are resolved in the same way. That's why I talk about this one process, because this is the process for opening that process that resolves all of these issues. Your brain is designed to resolve these issues. These issues should not be here. They're here because your brain could not complete them. So these accusations is where the thought of mine is worse and no one can understand. I'm just worse. Or nothing can help me because I tried everything. Yes. Those are, I don't know if they'd fall exactly into the accusation pile, but yes, they're twins. or their siblings. If they're not exactly, the first one does sound like accusations directed inward. That those are also things like jumping to conclusions, a cognitive distortion, where we're not reading the facts, we're not reading the data. That's a processing challenge. And there's a reason for that. And usually it's because there's something painful or threatening to the survival system in it. We don't need to know what that is. We just need to provide the survival system support. Hey, I know you're threatened, but it's safe enough to let the whole brain work on that. They will resolve that for your survival system. And the next time it moves through, it won't have the same charge and it might even be fully resolved. So we really want to empower your brain to do this work. So yes, those are, those can absolutely be applied to this whole video. Okay, great questions. All right, wonderful connecting with you all. Do this work, find an intervention that shifts your brain out. Our brain does need the support. Our survival system must receive specific signaling to shift into survival state. I'm gonna say it again. Our survival system does need specific signaling to shift out of survival mode and into that regulating, processing, growth, development process. And that's the design. Every one of us needs it. People that have great processors have had a lot of this signaling. Those of us who have struggled to process things in our life, as evidenced by all the symptoms we have going on, we need to do it now. We need to provide that signal now. That's what we're using the interventions for. And I invite you to try my 3 favorite interventions for this. And I share those in my free training, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. The link to that is in the description of this video. Also, I have an online program, a self-paced program where you can use my whole process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, and helping your brain build the healthy developmental functions it needs to sustain and maintain health and wellness. That's available on my website. That's called Inner World Transformation. I'm also helping people in small groups. I do consultations and also one-on-one coaching. So see if those opportunities resonate with you, and you can find links to that in my below. So like, subscribe, follow, and share this video to those you know and love. Maybe even just like, hey, I'm working on this. I'd love for you to learn about it too. So, because if we team up in our work, it goes faster. It's more helpful because there's more attention on an issue. So, and it's totally fine to do this all by yourself because maybe your system's not that helpful. Maybe if they were helping you, it would be worse. So that's a great reason to heal. Okay. All right. Talk to you later. See you around. Bye.